or good, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Here now. It is Thursday morning, and today's a good day because I feel good today. I don't know about you guys, but I feel good today. I hope you feel good too. Now, give me just a moment here to set my link up properly with the proper links. I got to figure out a more efficient way to do this, but this is what I got for now. Oops. Nope. All right. I'm just going to get going today, I think, because we're not going to do a formal trance today. We're going to do just a standard discussion where I'm going to do a bunch of under the hood work. So let's see here. All right, there we go. All right. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to Daily Upgrade with Jason Andrews. I'm Jason Andrews, and I'm a hypnotist, which is pretty cool because I know how to fix things. I know how to change things on the inside and make things better. And if you're here, you like it when things get better. And I like it when things get better. And so that's what we're here for. And today I'm going to make everybody in the world angry. I might make you angry too. Hopefully in a good way, but we'll see. See, this is the story of my life, right? I'll come up with something, I'll think an idea through, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm right about this." And I'll test the idea, and I will rigorously. Sometimes I'll post it on X to see what happens, and then I'll refine the idea, and eventually it'll get into a form where it's pretty close to irrefutable. And then I go through this decision process where I think, well, am I ever going to say this to anybody? Am I ever going to announce this? Am I ever going to post this big? Because people can't handle it. Now, me as a hypnotist, I can handle it. Because what I do is I work with the subconscious mind. So I know what's going on at the deepest levels. And the only way to really to do that without going insane is to develop just a level of complete acceptance of all things, right? Whatever happens, I'm still okay, right? Even though this is this way, I accept myself. I'm still okay. And if you do that, then you avoid denial. You avoid cognitive dissonance. Back when Scott Adams was around, I was talking with him at one point about cognitive dissonance, and I said, "Man, I've got a way to get out. I have a method to get out of cognitive dissonance, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it for others very well. It's something you kind of have to do for yourself. I'm still working on that years later, a way to do that without like being able to transfer it to somebody else. Now you can do it to yourself. And like I said, it's really simple. It's just, even though that's true, or even though it's that way, or even though it could be like that, I still accept myself. And then it can be true. You can allow it to be true and you're still okay. And that's how you get rid of cognitive dissonance. But see, most people can't do that. And so when I talk about some of these things that I can accept and allow, and I can work with it. And that's one of the reasons I can get the changes that I can get, when I work with people, is that I can access those things that most people are just unaware of or in denial of. But this is one of those things I think that's in that category. This is something that everybody's going to get angry about. You guys ready? You ready for it? I hope you're ready for it. All right, so here it goes. Let me share this. All right. So this is a response to a post that somebody else made. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Is that better? This was a response to a woman who was complaining about how men aren't keeping up in society. And this was my response. I said, well, look, when a woman is in a high paying job, right? The person who didn't get the job loses out on money. And let's say it's a woman instead of a man. If she gets the job and he doesn't, he loses out on the money and also his ability to attract a woman, right? Because one of the things that women tend to prefer in a man is high earning power, financial ability, providing ability, right? That's an important hardwired thing in women. Now the reverse is not true. Men do not look for ability to provide in a woman. Men just don't do that. It's not on our radar. We're not hardwired to care about that. Okay, so this is a difference in the dynamic between men and women. So sure, if the woman gets the job, the man loses out on the money. Maybe he's not the best one for the job. Maybe he is, and there was some bias going on. I don't know. It's hard to know these days. But so he loses out on the money and his ability to attract a woman. But what that means also is necessarily that since there's a finite number of jobs, right? If there were infinite jobs, then there would be no unemployment. But there's not infinite jobs. There is unemployment, so there's not infinite jobs. So there's finite number of jobs, right? So some other woman, now there's one fewer man with a good job in the dating pool. And so some other woman out there loses a potential partner with sufficient earning power to meet her romantic standards. In other words, if one woman takes a job that's a man would have, instead of a man, then this woman over here who would have seen that man in the job and gone, oh, he's suitable, let's see if we're compatible. He's out of the pool because he doesn't have enough earning power. Right? So this hurts women romantically. Okay? So every time that happens, a man loses and a woman loses. Right? Now I've thought this through. Am I wrong about this? Right? Is there an error in this? Tell me if there's an error in this. Because I've thought this through a lot and I can't come up with an error in this. And it kind of shocks the brain when you think about it like this. Because, does this mean, what does this mean? What are we supposed to do about this, right? Does this mean we give, instead of DEI for women, that we do DEI for men? Because that makes women happier too in the long run? Right? That's a hard, like if you think about that and your brain went, wait, what? Okay, that's something your brain has just gone, well, that's not possible. We're not doing that. That's not real. We can't do that. I can't accept that. And your brain has nowhere else to go. Because your brain's going, wait a minute, is that real? Okay, very, very hard. Very, very hard. But I think there's something to this because the birth rate is low, right? There's an epidemic of men who can't find women. And now we're seeing an epidemic of women who can't find men of a sufficient caliber that they would consider marrying them or starting a family with them. Right? So there's harm on both sides there. There's harm on both sides there. And at the same time, I think it's very difficult to say that women shouldn't get jobs, because the thing is, if a woman is qualified for a job and she can get that job, she should get the job, right? That's pretty obvious, right? Well, the thing is, from her perspective, that's perfectly just and reasonable and logical. But from another woman's perspective, hey, you took that job that should have gone to my husband. You took my husband's job, right? How do you play that out? Doesn't that just mess with your head? It messed with my head for a long time. I struggled with this for a while. I think there's something to this. I'm not making any policy prescriptions. I'm not saying, we should do this or that or the other thing. But I think there's an obvious, obvious in retrospect, but I think there's an obvious dynamic here where the objectively superior societal stance would be to set things up so that women can get the men they want and men can get the women they want. Right? Again, if I'm wrong about this, let me know. Am I wrong about this? Please, really, let me know. But I think that's the advantage. That's the superior way of doing things, rather than saying, okay, well, we're just going to let this person get the job, but then that person loses out on a husband. Right? That person loses out on a husband, and the other guy loses out on a job and a wife. Right? Very, very hard. So this is something I wanted to share with you all, because you know what? I realized something recently. And it has to do with, I had some social interactions recently, and these were people who were very much highly schmoozy types, very good people, but very also very in tune with what's socially acceptable and not. And they're not necessarily liberal people either. These are sort of moderates. Some of them are liberal, but they're not, loony liberals. And I realized from talking to them that, you know what, I have the skills to do that, but it just drives me. I don't like it. I don't like doing that. I don't like. Well, I can't I can't say this thing that's true because of the social dynamics. That bothers me. That really bugs me. And I realize how much I enjoy just being able to say what is true, even if it's socially something that isn't okay, that isn't socially smooth. I enjoy doing that, right? I not that I like to ruffle feathers, but I like being able to tell the truth. I'll say it that way. And this is one of those things. So let me just sum up for those people who have joined recently, right? If a woman gets a job instead of a man, great, right? Especially if she earned it. Now in DEI, that's a different situation. But if she really is better, she should get that job. But if she gets that job, then a man who didn't get the job cannot attract a woman, and that there's some woman out there who has one less potential man that she would find a suitable husband. So when this woman gets a job, she wins, and this man loses, and this woman loses. It's hard. That's hard. So anyway, I hope if I made everybody angry today, I hope you appreciate that this is an honest truth sharing moment for me, that I'm not really paying attention to what people are going to think of me in terms of social status or things like that. But this is an honest attempt at sharing what I think is something that needs to be shared. So, well, tomorrow we're going to shift gears. Tomorrow it's Feel Good Friday. If you haven't done Feel Good Friday, it's fantastic. I'll guide you into a really good feeling state of mind and body. and we'll use that state for you to do some internal resolution of conflicts and some other things and go through your day feeling good. Okay, so we're going to do that tomorrow at 8:30. So feel free to join. And if this was fun or interesting today, feel free to share it. If it made you think, like and subscribe. It helps me to reach more people. And yeah, have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.